So now we are going to look at the interconnectedness of all these dimensions that we've mentioned. We mentioned 7 dimensions of human security, and we established the fact that all these dimensions are connected. But how are they connected? I would like to let's look at an example, for us to begin to understand what we mean. Remember, we mentioned economic security, community security, we mentioned health security, we mentioned food security. Now, political security also mentioned that. Now, in order to understand the interconnectedness of these dimensions, we have to bear in mind, at the back of our mind, that one aspect, one dimension of this security, once it is affected, it can lead to affecting or impacting other dimensions of security. Now, when that happens, we begin to see a domino effect in which one dimension of human security collapses and then leads to the collapse of another dimension of human security, leading to the collapse of yet another dimension of human security. Let's take, for instance, community security. Let's say community security collapses. A community is attacked by, let's say, some foreign bodies. Let's take, for instance, the communities in Benue State that have been attacked, in Nasarawa State that have been attacked by, Fulani headsmen. Let's take the Yellow-Water community, for instance, as an example. Once that community was attacked by bandits and terrorists and headsmen, and the people were sacked, so to speak, they were chased from their houses. Their houses were burnt, completely consumed. They have been able to lose what is referred to as community security. But in trying to understand the interconnectedness of various dimensions of human security, we can be able to safely infer that when community security is lost, what follows from that is several of the collapse of other dimensions of security. For instance, the first that will collapse is personal security. Once the community security has collapsed, people are no longer safe personally, because community creates some form of safety, being in the midst of people and receiving assurance that you have community mechanisms for protecting yourself, either the police or community policing that has in place, maybe vigilante and other forms, But the moment people have been scattered and have become refugees, they have lost personal security, not just community security. But the loss of community security has metamorphosized into the loss of personal security. They are no longer personally secure any longer. They become open to several forms of danger, to their person. Now, the next thing that you'd want to consider is also the loss of food security. These people who were chased away and sacked from their homes were farmers. And the fact that they were farmers means that they have lost contact with the land. The ability for them to get on their land, farm on the land, produce food is completely lost. So that disconnect between the people and the land produces food security. The community as a whole, and even the individuals, will no longer have the capacity to produce food any longer. So that means from the loss of community security, we have a domino effect leading to the loss of personal security that also snowballed into the loss of food security. Now, when food security is lost, we can be assured that the next thing that will be lost is health security. If people are not able to feed properly at the right time, our health is directly connected to our food. Our feeding is directly connected to our health. So once you lose proper feeding, you are more in danger of losing your immunity. Your immune system breaks down, and then you are more susceptible to different kinds of diseases. Okay, so that means also these people are going to lose their health security. Now, more importantly, when all of these domino effects are taking place, it also increases the likelihood of political security to be lost within that particular environment or community or state, because political security is anchored by the people. So if the people have lost personal security, they've lost food security, they've lost health security, they've lost communal security, then it follows, it logically follows that the political structures that are in place to be able to properly govern these people have failed in one sense or the other. Therefore, we can safely say that political security has also been lost. Why? Because it is the political structures in place that are supposed to protect them from the loss of community security, and by extension, the loss of personal security, food security, health security, and so on and so forth. So the multidimensionality of human security has to take into cognizance the connectedness, the interconnectedness of these different dimensions of security in order for it to be properly understood and appreciated. Then finally, we need to look at the prevention-focused and empowerment-oriented nature of human security. We first of all started by looking at the people-centered nature of human security. Then we looked at the multidimensionality of human security. Then we now examine the interconnectedness of human security. Finally, we now look at the prevention-focused and empowerment-oriented nature of what? Of human security. Now, previously, the state-centered forms of security, like I mentioned earlier when the lecture started, were more focused on the integrity of the state, the sovereignty of the state, protecting the state, and usually they were reactive. That form of security was reactive in nature. That means they attempted to engage in securing the nation when they were attacked. So maybe a nation is attacked by another nation, then the army rises up and attempts to protect the territorial integrity of that nation, the sovereignty of that nation, so on and so forth. But when it comes to human security, which became a more recent paradigm post 1994, we understand that this form of security is not reactive, but rather is anticipatory. It looks at security from the standpoint of engaging in preventive measures. Okay, it is prevention focused, and it attempts to empower people, human beings, in order to make sure that their security is not compromised. So let's say that again. Prior to 1994, we look at states, state-centered security, which was largely reactive in nature, but human security post, 1994, pre-1994, state security was largely state-focused, state-centric, while in post 1994, we are looking at security in terms of human beings, centering on human beings. And this fourth pillar, which I'm discussing now, is a pillar that emphasizes, the fact that prevention-focused mechanisms should be put in place in order to secure human beings. So what does this mean for human security? What it means is that human security emphasizes proactive measures to build resilience and prevent crises from occurring in the first place. It does what? It emphasizes proactive measures. What are the kind of measures that we're going to put in place that will prevent something bad from happening, that will prevent, let's say, for instance, community security from being lost? Because when we're looking at the interconnectedness of the multidimensional nature of human security, we observed that when there is loss in community security, it will domino, it will lead into the loss of several other forms of security. So this particular aspect, this particular pillar of human security emphasizes proactive planning, strategic proactive prevention measures. What do you put in place? Early warning systems. For some of you, you have been studying the course early warning systems. by Dr. Luani, that should also be able to engage with some of the issues that we've discussed here. In order to make sure that human security is assured, there has to be measures that will be put in place, that will be able to proactively engage with some of the root causes, some of the root causative factors that bring about conflict. Okay, some of those root causative factors can easily be prevented if government institute policies that prevent what we call structural violence. Because most of these conflicts often emerge as a consequence of the presence of structural violence within the state, within the communities. So proactive measures have to be put in place. Most importantly, they have to be resilient. They have to be resilient, very resilient, in order to prevent crisis from occurring in the first place. Because the moment a crisis occurs and persists over a long period of time, you will observe that crisis is making sure that other dimensions of human security are compromised. It's making sure that other dimensions of human security are compromised. And then this, completely destroys the integrity of the entire community, because it compromises every aspect, every dimension of all the other security that we've been looking at. So preventive measures are very, very important. Now, I want us to, as a class, I want us to think of various forms of preventive measures that, we can engage with, and let us put them, on the group chat. Send them on the group chat, the various preventive measures that you think, can be engaged with in order to maintain human security, prevent it from being compromised. Let's do that. And that will take us to the end of this particular topic in the course outline. Thank you very much for listening. I'm very sure that next week we'll take off from the next topic on the course outline. We'll be able to accomplish much during that period.